Good morning. Good morning. I hope I'm not shouting too loud. Good morning, good morning. Welcome on this beautiful first, Friday of spring. So really excited and beautiful day. This last 3 days in Johannesburg has been absolutely amazing. It's been perfect. I actually went to work elsewhere because who can sit inside when we've got such beautiful weather? Anyway, good morning, welcome. I see there's quite a few people saying hi already this morning, so let me say a warm welcome to you. Ben Kleinans, goeiemôre Benna. And Tracy, awesome to see you here as well. Good morning. Adrian, goeiemôre, good morning, welcome. Hendrik, baie welkom. We've got Albert Fritz, goeiemôre Albert. Govendra, and let me just quickly see. There we go. So I don't know what happened there for a second, everything froze. Anyway, so good morning, Quibus. Good morning. I hope you are doing amazingly well, each and every single one of you. Thank you for saying hi. And without any further ado, because this morning we have 4 phenomenal, amazing, passionate ladies who's going to talk about their journey into financial services, what they have experienced, what they are learning, and where they see things going. So really excited to get into that. So I want to minimize the time that I'm going to be talking. So therefore, we're getting straight into the news this morning. And this morning we have Seema, not Seema, sorry, Nikki. Almost you became Seema because I just said hi to Seema. But Nikki McDonald is with us this morning to do the news, sponsored by the FBI. And a big thank you to them for this weekly segment. All right, so here we go.
Good morning, Francois, and good morning, everyone on the call. So on Tuesday this week, the Green Paper on the Social Development Reform was withdrawn by the Department of Social Development, but this may not be the end of it. As reported on IOL.co.za, the spokesperson for the department, Lumka Olifant, said some of the areas needed clarification. Some of the technical aspects of the proposals were not well understood, and many have misrepresented the proposals, particularly on the National Social Security Fund. It has become apparent that some of these areas needed further clarification to avoid any further confusion. Now, Olifant said the department was pleased by the level of public discourse on the subject, as it reinforced the fact that society should be involved in the policy-making space. I am sure they got a lot of comments on that. We will await the next move on this with anticipation. If we move on to the next story, the death claim statistics that was released by ASISA this week show that more than 1 million claims were submitted between the 1st of April 2020 and the 31st of March 2021. The statistics reflected that claims made against individual life, group life, credit life, and funeral cover policies equated to 47 billion in relation to 29 billion paid during the preceding 12 months. Henny de Villiers, the deputy chair of the ASISA Life and Risk Board Committee, says the tragedy is that this represents an increase of more than 300,000 death claims compared to the statistics for the previous month, when around 700,000 claims were received, and most of these claims are related to COVID-19. He continued, while losing a family member results in a very challenging time for those left behind, the payout of a death benefit does alleviate the financial hardship that can result when a breadwinner dies, and this is where life insurance plays an invaluable role. Paying claims in a challenging time like this is one of the core purposes of the life insurance industry. Then, in my third story, the Minister of Finance has published draft regulations in terms of the Financial Sector Regulation Act, which designate the provision of a benchmark as a financial service. A copy of the draft regulations and a comprehensive impact report on the FSRA are available on the National Treasury website at www.treasury.gov.za and also on www.treasury.gov.za/twinpeaks. Written comments on these draft amendments should be submitted to Treasury by close of business on the 13th of October 2021. And then in my useless comment for that week, did you know that Spring Day is actually not Spring Day? While the Southern Hemisphere tends to celebrate spring on the 1st of September, the season doesn't actually start, according to nature's calendar, until the vernal equinox. And that date is only on the 22nd of September. Now, back in 1780, an international group of meteorologists decided to break the year up into 4 quarters, each one starting on the 1st of a month. And that is why we celebrate Spring Day on the 1st of September, but it should actually be the 22nd. So that is all from my side, and have a great weekend. Thank you, Francois.
Awesome stuff, Nikki. Thank you so much. And may you have a lovely weekend. And I don't have to say stay warm anymore, so because it's definitely getting hotter. I thought you were going to say we are not celebrating spring, like Spring Day, but we are celebrating Jump Day. But then that's my Free State. So good morning and thank you. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Francois.
Thanks
Goodbye.
For everything. Bye. All right. We always have some fun here on the show. Like this is like we live in such a professional, serious environment. I think like somebody needs to bring some comedy, and I'm sure that we bring that to you on the show. All right. Next up is Norma, and really looking forward. Norma is going to talk about time and mindset. So let's hear what she has to say.
Good morning. So my topic for today is time and really just our mindset around time. So if we just hear what people say around us regarding time, it's quite evident that it's something that people struggle with and that they find is a big challenge to them. And we hear a lot that people say they're so busy. So I think we have a lot to do. We have lots of goals that we want to achieve. And then we just overschedule our calendars, and really, I think we also overestimate what we can really do in a day. So I just want to touch on 2 things today that might just be helpful for you with regards to time. So the first thing is really our mindset. So there's a couple of elements needed to get to our results. So we think a certain way about something, and that drives us to take drives a certain feeling that we have within us, so a state that we're in, and that really then drives us to take a certain action. So we have circumstances in the world, and which is really just facts. So time is really then just a fact. So we all have 24 hours in a day, that's a fact. But the way that we think about that time that we have really makes the difference, and really then determines if we get to our result or not. So let's use an example. So if I say we have 24 hours in a day, that's really just a fact for everyone. It's not good or bad, it's just the way it is, it's reality. So if I think that I don't have enough time, then that is going to drive or create a certain feeling or a certain state that I'm in. So if I think that I don't have enough time, it might create something like overwhelm or anxiety. And if I feel that way, then it's going to drive certain actions in me, or it's going to cause me to not take action. So I might take action from this frantic state. I might be rushed. I might not be present all the time. I might not be focused or paying attention to what I'm doing. And I might just do things just for the sake of getting it done. So then my result is going to be that I don't have enough time to finish what I need to do in a day. So bottom line here is just our thinking really matters, and how we think about time. And then the second point that I want to touch on is just maybe not that obvious, but things that we waste our time on. So the first thing I can think of is really that we don't have a vision. So we might have, let's say, a 20-year vision, but what does it translate into in the season I am in right now? So I might not have a plan for the season that I'm in at the moment. And if I don't have a plan, then I don't know what I need to do this month, this week, and I don't know what I'm doing today. Another thing is that we want to do everything. So really, what is important to us? So we might not know what our priorities are. So if I don't know what my priorities are, then everything is going to be important for me, and I might focus more on the urgent things than really the important things, like focusing on my goals and dreams, for instance. Another way of wasting time is if we get trapped in a certain way of thinking, like, for instance, like time scarcity. So I think I don't have enough time, or time is running out, and I might be overthinking things. Another way of wasting time is if I get stuck in a certain feeling. So if I worry a lot, or I have overwhelm a lot, those are really not helpful emotions to drive us to take action into getting our results. Another one is to get stuck or trapped in our actions. So we might get stuck in passive action, and that is really just referring to, I might be reading book after book, but I'm not implementing what I'm reading. Or I might just be escaping, not wanting to do the action. So I might think that reorganizing my office is a better thing to do right now than to phone a client or do some networking, for instance. Another one is if we don't have a plan, or what we have planned is not on our calendar. And it's very useful to put into our diaries things that can give us a result. So instead of saying I'm going to work on my business from 9 to 12, it needs to be very specific. So I need to do from 9 to 9:30, I'm doing research, and from 9:30 to 10, I'm writing content, for instance, so that we can be focused and we have a deadline. So I don't want to take 3 hours to write content. I want to use half an hour for research, and I want to physically write for half an hour. And the other sort of important thing about putting things in our calendar is to leave like blank space. So if, for instance, we had an activity that ran over time, then we know we've got a bit of leeway to fit that in our day, maybe later on, just to finish up whatever we were doing. And then lastly, just we waste time if we have no constraints. So we say yes to everything. We think everything is important and we might be missing out, so we're saying yes to everything. So if you're sort of on the fence, that you don't know if what you're doing is productive, or you might think that you're busy all the time, so just ask yourself the question, does my diary really reflect my priorities? And I think that is a very powerful question to see if you're on the right track. And then just to leave you with this, that we always have a choice. So we don't have to do everything, that we really choose to do the things that we put in our calendar. And really not to beat ourselves up if this is an area of struggle, for instance. It's just to meet you where you are. It's not highly likely for you to jump from 0 to 100 in a week, but it's very possible to go from 0 to 1 in a week. Thank you. That's what I have for you today.
Yeah, that's, well, yeah, I think we overthink this stuff. And my good friend and mentor, Chris Roo, when I came to Joburg, got to work with him, and he always said, like, if it's not in your diary, it ain't going to happen. So I think very powerful. Thanks, Norma. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you back next week.
Great. Thank you. And have a good weekend, everyone.
Awesome. Bye. All right. So with that, this morning I'm not going to do any announcements because for the sake of time. So we are going to jump straight into this morning's featured guest section. And this morning I have Mona, Anelisa, Esther, and Gratitude with us. And really excited to get into this. They were actually supposed to be on the show last week, and then I stuffed it up because I did not change the appointment that I had with Nick. So Nick came on last week, and so today is now a double whammy. We are celebrating spring with this episode, but also this is closing off our month of Women's Celebration in August. And as you know, we always on the show have a variety of guests. So we always have women coming onto the show doing doing the segments and all sorts of things. But in August, we commit to only have women on the show as part of this. So Nick snuck in there, but that was because of my bad admin. So very happy to be talking to these ladies this morning. And with that, let's talk to them and introduce them. Awesome stuff. Oh, let me just take off Norma there. Where am I? I thought I had everything under control. Now look at that. Look at that. Like, this is episode 149 since we started. And I still make mistakes. So sorry for that, Anelisa, for having Norma's logo all over you. But ladies, Anelisa, Esther, Mona, gratitude, like a warm welcome to the show. Really happy to see you here and to be able to talk to you today.
Thanks for having us.
Cool stuff. All right, so I'm first going to ask that you just quickly do just a brief introduction before we get into your story and how you ended up in financial services. Just quickly, who you are, what you do, and so forth, and then we'll get into the stories and everything that happened up to this point, and we'll take the conversation from there. So, Anelisa, I'm going to start with you. If you can do just quickly introduce yourself.
Lucky number one, I guess. So my name is Anelisa. I am an associate planner at Chartered Wealth Services, along with the other lovely ladies that we see on the screen. So originally from the Eastern Cape and currently working in Joburg.
Awesome. Welcome, and thank you for being with us. Esther, you're up next.
So I'm Esther. I'm working at Chartered Wealth Solutions as well as an associate planner. Born and bred in Joburg.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're staying, like I also immigrated from the Free State here, and Anelisa immigrated from the Eastern Cape. So let's hear what the other ladies has to say. But warm welcome to you, Esther, and thanks for joining us. All right, gratitude.
Thank you so much. Hi, guys. My name is Gratitude, and I also work as an article planner at Chartered Wealth Solutions with Esther, Anelisa, and Mona. And I'm originally from Mahlangu. I came to Joburg when I came to pursue my degree. And yeah, I've been here ever since.
Awesome. But a warm welcome. So 3 of us have so far immigrated. Yeah. So warm welcome. I'm looking forward to hearing your story as well. And Mona, please tell us, you were born in Joburg, or where did you immigrate from?
Good morning, everybody. I've got good news for you, Francois. I was born in Johannesburg. However, I'm Angolan by nationality. Like the other ladies, I also work at Chartered Wealth Solutions, and I'm an article planner.
Awesome, but a warm welcome. Mona, I'm just going to start with you. Sort of, how did you land up in this? I mean, did you grow up as a little girl and said, like, I'm going to become a financial planner? And by that, I assume I want to be a CFP. How did it happen for you that you actually landed up in financial planning?
If I'm being honest, I actually never knew financial planning was a career. I stumbled on it by default. How so? I've always wanted to be a pilot. That was my dream, but that didn't work out. So I looked at a university brochure, and financial management was one of the degrees that I chose. And in my 3rd year at University of Johannesburg, we had financial planning as a module. And that was where I came to know of the career, or when I first heard of the career. And I just fell in love with it because I could relate with why financial planning is important, because of some of the decisions my parents took that I believe could have been avoided had they had a financial planner. So that was my main motive. And then whilst in university, I participated in a competition that BDO hosts together with UJ, and my university was part of the top 3 institutions nationwide that made it to the FPI convention. I think it was 2017, and that's where I got to even know more about financial planning as a career, about the FPI, and I just fell in love with it there and then. It did help that my university also won the competition in that year, and that was when I had decided, you know what, I think financial planning is what I want to do, and I haven't looked back since. Yeah.
What an amazing story, and thanks for sharing that. Gratitude. How did you land up in financial planning?
My story is also similar to Mona's. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a businesswoman. I know, very vague. I just said to myself, I want to be a businesswoman. And as I started like narrowing it down and getting closer to adulthood, I wanted to be an accountant because I was good in accounting, wanted to stick to what I was good at. And then I applied at UJ for BCom accounting, and I applied for BCom finance as well because I saw BCom finance had a lot of other options. So you could be an investment banker, you could be a financial manager, I just wanted a lot of options. So I ended up going with BCom finance. And then in our third year, financial planning was introduced as a module. And when we started doing things like estate planning, retirement planning, I just saw how many mistakes my people in my immediate community did, like withdrawing all their retirement fund monies and just spending it all and then ending up to depend on the estates. And I just found that it was such a need in our communities to have people that can explain these things to our people in a language that is understandable to them. And so I just started getting interested in financial planning. And then I was also part of the UJ competition, the trusted advisor with BDO. And that's how I started in the industry.
Yeah, amazing. I'd love these stories. Like it's really, I just want to like, Gretchen, if I can just like put your mind at ease. Like I remember quite vividly when I was in, I don't know, back then, standard 2, what is it now, grade 4. I thought like, I want to have my own business. I want to do my own thing. Yeah. And up until 41, I didn't know what that was. So, so don't worry about being vague. It's okay. It sorts itself out over time. Okay. So there's no rush. There's enough time. I know that never feels that way, but there's definitely always time. But awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. Esther, I am very interested to hear your story as well. And how did you land up here?
So my story is also similar to the ladies. I studied accounting in school, and then I thought, because I was great in mathematics at the time, that I would be an actuarial science. But then my brother was like, listen, bro, actuarial science is actually quite hard. Are you going to be able to do this? And I had to rethink my whole plan for university. So then I stumbled across finance as my first option, studied that with UJ. And then in my third year, financial planning was introduced, fell in love with all the modules, so that there was a need for it. And I really, really liked it. So then I decided to go the financial planning route. Luckily, also at UJ, they had a partnership with Asisa Academy. And I was fortunate enough to be part of those ladies chosen to be part of a training that they do. So they have a training session that they have, a work readiness program that they put us through for about 3 months. And there we learned how to brush up our CVs, how to conduct ourselves in the work environment. They linked us up with financial advisors that were independent, so that we can do financial planning the right way. And that's how I got into the industry.
Awesome. I'm loving these stories. I'm a story man. Like, I'm not so good at telling stories, but listening to stories I'm absolutely good at. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And then Anelisa, am I right? Like, I haven't asked you yet. Like, how did you land up here? And really interested to hear what made you come to Joburg. Was it studies? Was it what was it?
So for me, growing up, I wanted to be a secretary. I don't know why, but it just seemed like that was the job that I wanted to do. Maybe it's because I liked being on the phone. But yeah, so wanted to be a secretary. And then when it came time to choosing what I wanted to do in university, it was a whole lot of career days and just trying to understand what the different careers meant. And that's where I actually came across financial planning. So I was studying at Nelson Mandela University in Port Elizabeth. So I was really interested in financial planning, and having somebody in the career that explained exactly what it was about made it less vague for me to kind of understand the need behind financial planning. So I did it from my first year. Absolutely loved it. The more that I did it, the more that I knew how important it was for people to have those financial planning principles and just to understand the need for financial planning. So moving to Joburg was actually for work. So I actually just recently immigrated to Joburg at the end of last year.
Yeah, well, it's I think I came to Joburg in 2004. So yeah, it's like everything, as I just said to graduate as well. Like there's no rush. Eh? Eventually, everybody lands up in Joburg. I think it's just almost the sort of way things work here. There's a magnet here underground that's pulling everyone here. But amazing, and thanks for sharing that as well. So I want to talk a little bit about your, like if I'm not mistaken, all four of you are on a article or planner article sort of program with Chartered Wealth Solutions. And, just maybe Anelisa, just quickly, what is that about, and what is your experience being on this? Because I think we've been talking about this in the profession for a long time, where we want, it's easy to go. Well, I'll say it's easy, but let's just say that relatively, it's easy to do your postgrad. It's easy to get your CFP, and it's not like but that's the easy part. I think the hard part is getting to learn to use this stuff in practice and apply it in practice. And we need things like this where, you go through almost like a lawyer or an accountant going through this article process, so that that the day that they, like say, you leave the nest, that you are confident, and that you know what you're doing, and you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you really know what you're doing. So I'm quite keen to learn about, like, what is this what the article planner journey for you is, and then sort of, what is your experience with that?
So I think the other ladies will definitely be able to explain this a bit better. So I because my move has been quite recent, I started it about halfway, but from where I am and my understanding about it, it is learning a lot from somebody who is in the industry and has been in the industry, and just kind of picking up on, the conversations that I had. And because financial planning isn't just about somebody's finances, it's a lot to do with engaging with the person, with understanding the decisions that they've made along their financial journey. And it's learning how to conduct those conversations, and to grow also, not just the studying part of it, because we've all studied, we all know the retirement planning, we all know the estate planning, we all know that, but now it's linking that to the individual, and making it meaningful for them in their situation. So it's a great program that it allows you to learn, underneath somebody, if I can call it that, or in partnership with somebody who's been in the industry, so that when you now are sitting in front of a client, you kind of feel ready to be able to engage them personally, and you can understand a person a bit better.
Yeah. I think you explained that pretty well for somebody who just got there. Eh? So well done. Mona, I'm quite interested. What are some of the things that you've really, what has been some of the, I would say, maybe the highlights of this program for you, or what has been some of the I want to say biggest moments, like, wow, or there's a light bulb going on for okay. Is there anything that stands out for you at this point?
For me, what I've noticed actually is after I wrote my board exams like 3 times. So that means I failed twice. The first time I wrote it was when I had just started the article planner program at Chartered. So I had the book smart knowledge, but I didn't know how to apply it. As you said, the application was where the challenge was. So then I tried again the following year, and I studied harder, looked at the memos, and I still didn't get it the second time. And then the third time, I actually changed teams at Chartered because there are different financial planning teams. So I moved to a different team, and that team that I'm in right now actually has we look at more things. So not just retirement planning, we also have a risk section. And so I learned more about holistic financial planning from this specific team. And as I was preparing for the exam the third time, my senior line manager was like, his name is Wade. He was like, Mona, when you're going to the exam, think like Chartered. What would Chartered do for a client? And when he told me that, I feel like that was the game changer for me. I literally took my studying as if the paper was my client, and what would Chartered do? So everything that Chartered has taught me, like what Anelisa said, from people soft skills to book skills, theory and practical, I meshed everything together, and that was when the light bulb finally clicked. And I think Chartered, the article planner program, what it has done for me, and what I believe it does for everybody entering the financial planning career that will be a part of this program, is that it it prompts you to think. It gives you space to make mistakes and to learn from it. And there's just so much of different components that Chartered Wealth has put into the program that helps you develop even your people skills. So we've got like coaching, we've got Brene Brown work that Kim has introduced. We've got regular article planner meetings with our CEO. So we're very engaged. We can ask questions. We can go to any senior planner or anyone that is an article or an associate planner, ask them how they do things. There's many different ways of doing things, but there's a chartered vision and a chartered way of doing things, which is always above board. So I think that's what the Chartered Wealth Solutions Article Planner Program does. It really looks at financial planning holistically. All of those 6 components, they bring it to life so perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Esther, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
So Mona has covered quite a lot, actually. Her comments are on point. I would probably be counted as one of the first who's actually started the article planner program from start to finish, because I'm in my 3rd year with Chartered now. And I would like to echo Mona's comments. So you start from doing administration, and that gives you the basis to know, okay, what are the right things to do? How do you complete forms? What are the things that you need to know in order to assist the client correctly? And then you move from there to doing scenario planning. You're looking at things like how to model for clients, putting in what the important things, such as your holidays, what's important to clients. And the one thing I've learned from this process is also how to engage with clients, because that's very important for myself. It's quite hard to engage and find a meeting point with older clients, because our client base is older. So then your senior manager gives you that opportunity to engage and find some common ground with your client, because that's also important in fostering relationships. And I'm now at the point where I can say, I can also be a senior planner in this company and look forward and be confident that the company will give me the right support for me to actually be successful and engage at a much more professional manner. And I'll always have their support. So that's like the biggest thing at Chartered, is that you always have support. You'll never go see a client by yourself if you're not comfortable to do it. You'll always have someone there with you, and it fosters that relationship from senior planner to article planner. No one is too small. And that's like one thing that I love about the company as well.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, if you really think about it, all of this entire process enables you to become a great financial planner and a great professional. Exactly. But the impact it has over the long run on each and every single client, I don't know if we always realize just how amazing that is. There's this journey and this growth, and we become like, wow, this is so amazing for me. And then, it goes, and then it becomes this amazing thing for clients, and you start seeing the impact that you have. And I'm sure that you've already started experiencing that, specifically in the last 18 months, I would say, because there's things that happened that maybe would have taken a very long time for you to experience in this industry. So I think it's absolutely amazing. And then quickly, I just wanted gratitude. I don't think I've asked you this, when we start talking about all of this, what has been some highlights for you from the program?
It's pretty much everything, Francois, because Esther made some valid points in terms of starting from administration, where you learn how the processing side of financial planning works, so that when you do eventually get to a stage where you sit with your own clients, you can not say to a client, oh yeah, we'll have that withdrawal for you in 3 days. And little do you know that it might take up to 2 weeks. It helps you understand the processing, the back office stuff. And for me, what really stands out for me for the Article Planner program is that you're not forced to immediately get into what the profession is moving away from, where you have to sell, where you end up having pressure because you're not earning a salary. You end up maybe doing financial planning the way that we're trying to change it, where you start pushing products. So for me, the article financial planner program at Chartered has really helped me just learn how to become a holistic financial planning professional, where I look at financial planning in a holistic manner without the pressure of starting to have my own book, bringing in my own clients because they already have a client base, and you're just assisting a certified financial planner take care of those clients. And we have financial planning meetings where we hold them, I think, on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, where we discuss like product solutions, we discuss offshore, we discuss the investment side of things. So you really get a lot in your arsenal as a young graduate getting into financial planning, or as an experienced professional but who wants to get into holistic financial planning through the associate program. And the things that Mona touched on, the soft life skill things, where you do life planning, you understand how to engage with clients through coaching, how to ask the clients the right questions. Just it helps you relate to the client better, even if they're different from you, they come from a different background from you. You have like tools where you can ask the right questions that spark the conversation with the client. So that has really what stood out for me with the Article Planner program.
Yeah, awesome. And I also, I mean, it's amazing to see the work that Chartered Wealth is doing and all of that, you know, but this is really also a call to show like what does real training and setting somebody up for success looks like. I think is very, very important. So I think there's a lot that everybody can learn. And on PROpulsion Pro, by the way, we are going to be talking about how to build a financial planner in the sense of like, what does that training program look like? You know, often older financial advisors who are independent may say, well, I'm going to bring on a younger guy or my son or whoever it may be, my daughter, and then like they're going to take over my business, or they start doing these things. But once they get there, you know, the process, there is no process. There is no structured way and a program almost for them to go through. So I think this is a fantastic example of what can and should be done, you know, to set people up for success. And on that, I'm going to jump a little bit around between, like, I'm not going to ask like everybody's comments on all the questions that's coming up, but I do want to ask some questions, and I'll just randomly pick. I haven't like decided who I'm going to ask what to, so this will be random questions. But I mean, obviously, you know, sort of coming from very diverse backgrounds, you know, growing up in maybe challenging circumstances, maybe not, but having a very different sort of view about the world and those kind of things. I'm quite curious to hear from your perspective, you know, what has been some barriers, you know, were there barriers? I mean, I listened to you all went to university, you studied, you know, and then sort of got to, oh, this is financial planning. I quite like this, you know, kind of thing. But nobody grew up like, I want to become a fireman or I don't know, you know, but it's more a case of becoming aware of this thing. And it's amazing, you know, there's always some form of story of, if only my parents knew, or, you know, my dad did this and then this happened and we lost everything. And this is what was the result of that. So I've heard quite a few of those stories, and it's so inspirational. But I'm quite keen to learn for you, you know, from your perspective, from a personal perspective, you know, what were some of the barriers to get into this industry? You know, was it difficult for you? And I don't want like in general, I want for you specifically. So you know, sort of Esther, I'm gonna ask you first. You know, was it difficult for you to get into this industry? What do you think if you then look outside yourself, your experience versus what you maybe see other people experience? You know, what do you feel are some of the barriers that we need to take note of?
For me, I wouldn't say it was particularly difficult to get into the industry. Luckily, joining, because I was with UJ, I was able to get access to the assessor program. So that was my first foot into the industry. So it wasn't as difficult for me to get in there, but it was difficult in terms of engaging with clients and finding my own footing in the industry. So the Assessor Academy, what they tried to do was that they pair you up with independent financial advisors that are more geared towards holistic financial planning, instead of putting you with a company that's more geared towards selling, and you have barriers because you have to sell the product that you are linked to. So running away from linked financial planning. So going into my first job, what I experienced was that if I went to an event, there wasn't anyone like me in that event. I could literally count the people in the room that were successful and were senior. And it was quite intimidating for me because it was like, did I choose the right, Did I choose the right career for myself? Because I couldn't see anyone who was like me and was successful in that room. So that was a bit intimidating and I had to take a step back. But luckily, my manager at the time was like, okay, this is an opportunity because there isn't anyone like us. So it means that there's an opportunity for us to grow the industry and diversify it so that even the clients that look like me can know that actually there is financial planners out there that can relate to them. So relation is quite a big issue because obviously we come from different backgrounds and it's easier to relate to someone that has the same background. It's quite hard to relate to another race. For me, I found it quite difficult. It's something that I'm still working on every day, trying to find some common ground. And it's a thing that we all need to change our mindsets at some point. We can't always look to background to be the one thing that connects us to clients. So that was my difficulty in the industry. And from what I'm seeing, you see Chartered is coming up with this program. I know BDO also has their own program. So I'm seeing companies that are trying to come in with programs that can actually foster young people to come into the industry and make them professionals in their own rights. So it's really good to hear, to see that actually some people out there are taking the initiative to make sure that we feel also included as part of this financial planning industry.
You make such valuable points, and I can only try and imagine what it's like being in the room. And as you put it, the only person that looks like you, there's no one else. There's nobody like you that comes from your background, and you're doubting. So first your heart told you I love this, I want to do this, I want to explore this further. Then you get into an environment where it seems this isn't maybe, I don't know, ideal, or this is not I'm not sure I'm in the right place kind of thing. So I can only imagine sort of what goes through one's mind and what you would think about. And I think your point about finding something other that we can focus on than just what is our common ground. Because if you come from completely different places in the world, to find that, I think the one thing that we definitely do have in common is that we're all human. So we can start there, right? We all have a brain, we all can talk, let's just listen and let's just be open also to different views, because I think things that you have maybe experienced can be extremely valuable to any person in their financial planning, because they've never experienced it, but it doesn't say that they won't experience it ever. So I think there's so much value there to add. Anelisa, just maybe for you as well, I mean, like you said, it's been recent. So what has it been like for you? Once you decided that you wanted to get into this industry or into this profession, I like to talk about a profession, was it easy for you? Was it difficult? Were there any things that you can relate to that Esther has been talking about?
Yeah, so I think I definitely relate to a lot of, the points that Esther also touched on. I think I was also in a very fortunate position, after studying, of being able to get a position and learn in an independent financial planning practice. So in a way, that wasn't kind of like a barrier. But like Esther says, it is times where you are in the room and it's only you in the room, and finding that commonality and that common ground, where sometimes it's not as easy until, like you were saying, until you connect to somebody, until you engage in a conversation and understand your background. So I echo a lot of Esther's sentiments to say that, as much as, when I started, which was about 6-7 years back in the financial planning industry, it was very difficult to even find females in the room. And now we're in a position where you do find more females in higher positions in the industry. So, that diversification and is coming through, as we're going along and as the industry is changing, to find that inclusion of everybody being there and everybody being in the room and everybody being able to own their space in there.
Yeah, and I mean, there's sort of one thing that I'm really looking forward to is like when we just talk about I'm a financial planner, you're a financial planner, the person next to you is a financial planner. It's not you're a young female or an old female or a man or from this, you're a woman of color or you're a man of color, or those things doesn't really matter. Like, at this point, yes, because we don't see, we need to focus on how do we make the industry accessible and the profession accessible. But I look forward to the day that is no longer the case. And one thing that I am seeing myself, and also that to echo what you've just said, is that there are more women in higher positions like there were 5 years ago, 3 years ago, probably, So I'm happy to see that. In one of the episodes, I was talking about the future of financial planning. And I think the first or second point that I made was that women is the future of financial planning, because women are just naturally born to be financial planners. You have skills and just abilities in your DNA that men will never, ever have. So that is still my stance. And I'm glad to see the progression. We always used to see a lot of women at the FISA meetings because women are good at dealing with winding up estates and administration and those kind of things. But now you start seeing them at the financial planning, sort of, if I look at the people attending our training sessions and those kind of things, a lot of women. I'm so happy about that, because that's absolutely the future, is what I believe. So I want to ask you, Mona, what is listening to what Esther and Anelisa said, how can we as a profession, like everybody, make it more accessible? And how can we, I think most importantly, because I had a conversation with somebody the day before, it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, around like, how do we attract more people to the industry? Because most people will say, I landed up here by chance. That's what most people's story is. So I'm quite keen from your perspective, like, what do you think, what should we be doing in order to attract more young people to the industry, and how do we then remove some of these barriers? What does that look like from your perspective?
Well, I think it's going to take teamwork. Looking at how I got into the industry, it required UJ to be an active university that allowed employees to come in and to speak to their students. You have Chartered Wealth Solutions, you've got the Financial Planning Institute coming into UJ and wanting to speak to the learners about the profession. And I think that's how it starts. Like it's a puzzle with different moving pieces, and we need everyone to play a role. The way people go to high schools and career fairs and speak about the various careers, we just need more of that for the financial planning industry. More independent financial institutions or companies going to the universities, going to the schools, speaking to the students about this career as a profession. And I think we can take it from there. And having like what Esther said, and adding on to what Anelisa said, just a diverse group of people, so that when the students look at the profession, it's something that they can say, I can fit in, I can belong, I can find a place there.
Yeah, awesome. And Esther, from your perspective, what are you thinking? Like, how do we pull more people to the industry? And one thing I want to add on, where Mona just talk about, diversity and that as well. I think it always starts off with looking at men and women, and then different races and then different backgrounds and those kind of things. But I think the diversity that we need is a diversity of thinking, is how people view the world differently and how we approach it differently. I think that is a benefit that's going to come when we fix all of this over time. So definitely, sort of something that I'm thinking about. But I mean, from your perspective, Esther, like, what can we do to better this for everyone?
So I would also agree with Mona. It's very important that the independent companies come in and share their experience and what they do. It also depends on us as well, myself and you, professional CFPs. It would be great to also view certified financial planners as the next chartered accountants, because I think everyone in high school is like, I want to be a CA, I want to be a CA. But we need to also get into that space where we go to high schools as CFPs ourselves and speak to the kids, speak to them while they're younger, so that they have this financial planning mindset from an earlier age, and also just to make people aware of that you have the option to speak to a professional to do stuff if you are going to be retiring, especially for the Black community. There's so many teachers, there's so many policemen, so many of our grandparents that have pension funds, have retirement funds, but they don't know what the right choice is to do. So if we were to also just penetrate that space, go to schools and make those people aware, they'll be able to also just speak to their families, and then financial planning becomes this big thing as well. It grows, and people can also say, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a CFP. So I think we need to get to that point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think this profession is evolving at speed, right? I remember where CFP was the ultimate thing that you aimed at. But there's so many layers that has now come on top of that your first port of call is definitely becoming CFP, getting your CFP, however you want to put that. That's the first thing. But the journey doesn't stop there. I think, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we thought like CFP, that's it. And maybe you went and did your advanced postgrad and that. But there's so much more, and we learn all the time. This is a moving, and this is why I love the profession, because it's moving all the time. It's not a stagnant, boring sort of place to operate in. And I fully appreciate the comments and sort of the suggestions, and obviously want to challenge anybody watching that has the ability to sort of take on helping us to make the profession more accessible and to set up new people for success. I think we have that responsibility to do that. The profession has been great to all of us, or I'll say to most of us, I guess. But how do we now pay it forward, and how do we make sure that the next sort of generation, or just the new wave of financial planners are being set up for success, and they will come in and change things, and they will do things differently, and that's what I'm really excited about. And I sort of want to ask you, I'm going to give you each a minute. I'll go to everybody for this one. Just maybe some last words of advice. If what's on your heart, like what would you advise? And Anelisa, I'm gonna start with you. We're not putting you on the spot, but what would be a little piece of advice that you would want to leave us with?
I think for me, and I don't know if I'm speaking for the other ladies as well, just kind of going back to the barriers in the industry and, where we find ourselves and being in the position that we're in. I think my last words is just being able to live your dream and to go towards what you feel is passionate and what you feel is right for you and what you recognize is what you want to do going forward. So, my parting words is just to continue to follow your dreams, and let no barrier be where you stop, but to continue further than that, to be able to make a change for not just yourself, but for those that come after you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Esther?
For me, I would say if you want to be in the financial planning industry, I would highly advise that you find a practice that is independent and works to give full holistic financial planning. That is a great place to start because you learn everything holistically and you're not only tied to one way of thinking. So that would be my advice to anyone who wants to join the financial planning industry.
Awesome. Gratitude.
Thank you, Francois. I think my advice also would be for young aspiring financial planners to your LinkedIn profile matters. A lot of us got opportunities that way. A lot of the people that you aspire or the people that can inspire you are on LinkedIn, and they're active, they're reaching out. There's seasoned financial planners that are ready and willing to answer your questions. There's people out there that are willing to share their knowledge. So it starts with LinkedIn. Follow things, institutions such as the FPI on Facebook and other social media. Engage, ask questions, share content, because that way you help boost your friends who also want to come into financial planning. Because the industry, for me, is very open and people are willing to share. So when you follow the people that are at the right places, you find yourself getting, like that propulsion that you need. I think that's it for me.
Hey, thanks for throwing that in there. Thank you very much. Mona?
For me, really, it's something that I always say, but for me, it's know your purpose. Like, find out what you're born to do, your purpose, and if you know your purpose, like what Anelisa said, when challenges come your way, they're not going to lead you astray. Your purpose will be that vision that keeps you on the path. And I think one thing that I've learned, and that I've learned by watching Kim, is you need to own who you are. When you've stepped into a place, I think if you're so conscious of the, not that you can't, it's not something that you can ignore. Like if you step into a room and you're the only one that looks like you, it's not something you can ignore. But I think like what you said, Francois, when we change our mindset to looking for people that look like us, to just bringing the best of you, I think that changes a whole lot. So your perspective and your purpose. Follow purpose, let that be your guiding light and what helps you make decisions. And then number 2, don't observe negativities. So don't ignore them, but don't let that be your focal points. Know who you are, step into who you are, and own who you are. And wherever you go, everything will be fine. Knowing who you are and stepping and living it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, imagine just that, you walk into the room and you think like, oh, I'm the only one like me here, versus like how amazing it is to be the only one like you in that room. I mean, that's a big thing. Instead of seeing it, as you said, as a negative, see it as like, and it's not like because this is the room and that's, sort of, I also think we should stop, sort of attaching certain values to certain things in life. It is just, be proud. You are there, and you're there for your reasons, and just as you say, be confident about it, and don't let it become a thing that's sort of what's the right word? I can't get to the word now, but it's just something that's, as you said, that you experience negative, instead of turning it into positive and saying like, amazing, I'm the only one like me here, and next time there will be 2 and 3, and so we will go. So, ladies, just from my side. When I had to come up with a name for this episode, okay, I didn't know what I was going to call it. Like many times these names come to me like in a moment of, I don't know, like, and I don't overthink it. Like if I go with something and I decide, and I'm so glad that I called this Paving the Way, because like that's exactly what you do. And I mean, you are so well spoken. You present yourself, the way you tell your stories, what you do. I think the experience you've gained until you're going to change the profession. So don't stop. You need to speak up. You need to talk. You need to be out there and sharing your journey and inspiring, other young women as well to get into the industry, but not just young women, everybody. We need to get more young people into the industry, So like really, I want to encourage you today to keep doing that. You are 4 amazing, phenomenal ladies. And I didn't know you 2 weeks ago. That's the sad part. I didn't know any one of you. Okay, now I do, and I'm very, very happy for that. So, from my side, a big, big thank you. I think it has been amazing. I hope that people will watch this recording over and over and over again. There's lots for us to learn. So, from that side, I just want to say thank you very much for your time, and keep doing the amazing work you're doing, and believe in your journey.
Thanks,
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
It's a huge pleasure. Alrighty, so with that, we've come to the end of another episode, and thank you very much for joining us. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for being part of the discussion, and for always watching the show live. Deeply appreciate it. If you watch the recording, a huge thank you to you too. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back soon, and stay safe, and remember to raise the bar always. Cheers.